Hey there, drone fans. Rick here again from Drone Valley. In today's clip, I'd like to do a wrap-up of the recent DJI event in New York for the launch of the brand new Mavic 2. Now, I'm going to break the clip into three sections. I'll talk about the event first, then I'll talk about the quad, and I'm not just going to give you dry specifications of what they've released. If you guys watch the broadcast online, you already know everything there is to know about the Mavic 2 products. What I'd like to do is talk about some of the features that are special that really make these quads stand out, and then I'll come back with some conclusions about what I think of the new quads and are they good enough to actually be worth you spending money on. So let's start with the event. So we got to the event a little bit early. I was lucky enough to be invited. My son came along, was actually running the camera on a lot of the shots, and we just love those kind of events because we're both nerds, and anytime we get a chance to get around new technology, whether it's at a trade show or an event like this, we're just in heaven. We just love spending time around new gear like that. So he was excited, I was excited. We got there super early, which gave us plenty of time to meet some of the other YouTubers out in the parking lot, and I'll get into that in a minute. But they opened the doors about 9 o'clock. We walked in, we got checked in, and walked into this beautiful facility there in Brooklyn at the Brooklyn Navy Yards, where it's this gigantic building with tall ceilings, and they just did an amazing job of outfitting the space. They had people walking around with hors d'oeuvres and drinks and things like that that you could relax and, you know, sort of settle into the event. And then right around 10 o'clock, they started the event. Now, if you watch the broadcast live online, we were lucky to get there early, so we were right up front, right off the stage, so we could see everything that was going on. And it was kind of cool because there were a lot of sort of YouTube celebrities there, which is something that, it's even weird for me to say it, but if you're in the drone community, you probably know some of these names, and we're friends with a lot of them, so I got a chance to sit down and talk to them about their impressions of the quad, what they're doing in their space, how they're flying, if they had time this summer to actually get some quads up in the air. And we met people like Original Dobo, pretty cool guy. I mean, he's got a philosophy about quads where he'll only buy and fly one of them. When he gets tired of a quad, he sells it and he moves on to something else. So he's been a big fan of the Autel Evo, and I think he sold the Autel Evo to buy one of these new Mavics. So I think he's got the Mavic 2 Zoom on order as of the show. So pretty cool guy. I'm going to try and spend some time with him. He's out of Florida, so I may actually travel down there very soon this next month or so and try and do a meetup with him. Bill, the drone reviewer, was also there. He's out of Florida as well. I just did a clip with him a couple of weeks ago and had a whole lot of fun flying with him. So I can't wait to get back down to Florida and fly with him again as well. But I think he actually ordered a drone at the show as well. I also got a chance to meet the gentleman from Ready Set Drone. Now, Kelly is a great guy. I've known him quite a long time. Just a wonderful guy, really a real asset to the community. He's one of those guys that really spends a lot of time reviewing a ton of different products and really gives you the straight scoop on stuff. He's not somebody that'll sort of tread lightly around a product. If he likes it, he'll tell you he likes it. If he doesn't, he'll tell you what's wrong with it. And I'll put links below where you can go check out all these guys' pages. You probably know all these guys by name already. Ed Ricker was there. I'm a big fan of his channel. Ed has recently, I think, split his channel into two, so he's still doing the ready-to-fly stuff like the Phantom products and the Mavics, you know, the DJI products and Autel and all the rest of them, but he's also got an FPV channel. He's starting to get pretty heavy into sort of those racing drones where you kind of build them yourselves and solder things together, and I do a little bit of that as well, but not enough to put a channel together on it. But good for him that he's got two channels going now, and they're both really, really popular. I also got a chance to see Billy Kyle. I call him the young gun of the business because I think he just turned 21, and he's out of Philly, and it's really weird that we haven't flown together because I'm in Jersey, he's in Philly. We're probably 30 minutes apart. So I insist that we get together for a meetup. We're going to try and do that as soon as possible, certainly before the cold weather sets in. And then I also met the guys from Half Chrome Drones. Now, that's a wonderful channel, and there are two guys, if you haven't seen the channel, there are two guys on there that really get into detail about what the drones can do and the specifications and comparing it, do a lot of speculation. And I had to bust their chops because every other channel is just one guy like me talking at a camera, and they have two guys, but they're such professionals that when they're on that channel, they're almost completing each other's sentences. They're like an older married couple, but it works. So they were kind of cool guys to meet and talk to. I think they're out of Chicago, so I'm not sure I'm going to get a chance to fly with them, but I've got all their contact information. I'll do my best to hook up with these guys afterwards and see if we can get some clips together with us out there flying, because what I love so much about this community is that it's a really tight-knit community where, I gotta be honest, nobody at the show was a jerk. It wasn't like they were big shots and I haven't got time for you. Like, everybody was happy to see everybody else and talk about drones and really talk about our opinions of what we think this Mavic 2 is gonna be. And I'll give you some of those at the end of this particular clip. Now, one other thing I wanna point out is I was lucky enough to score two interviews. One with Michael Oldenburg, who's the gentleman you saw on stage introducing the product, and another one was Adam Lisberg, who's the head of their government affairs and marketing. So he's got a lot of roles inside the company, but he's a really interesting guy. Known him for quite some time too. So Follow the channel because I'll do 2 separate clips, one with the Michael Oldenburg interview and one with the Adam Lisberg interview as well. And then you'll be able to check both of those out because I had to ask them a lot of tough questions. I think both of them did really well, but it's up to you guys to decide. But it's interesting what they're thinking about the future of drones look like and what DJI is doing to sort of advance this technology. And I got into some pretty interesting areas there, so it'd be well worth your while to check those out. I hope to have them up over the next day or two. All right, so let's talk about the quads. I was blown away by the quads, and I know a lot of people are saying, well, gee, it's not that much of a difference between the original Mavic Pro and the Mavic 2. Is it really worth my money? The honest truth is they focused on 2 things specifically with this new iteration of the Mavic. They focused on intelligence and image quality, and they asked a lot of people what they wanted in a drone, and a lot of the professional photographers said, just build me a drone that looks like a DSLR but flies. Give me a better sensor, give me a lot more control over how I set the ISOs and the f-stops and all the rest of that, and I'll be a happy camper. And that's exactly what they did, but they took the extra step of building a tremendous amount of intelligence into the quad. They've basically doubled the brains of the quad to be able to do a lot more stuff in that tiny little package. Now, it is a slightly larger quad if you've seen some of the comparisons side by side. A little taller, a little heavier, but it's because they have a little bigger battery in it. They've got more powerful motors in it. They've gone to sinusoidal ESCs. They've got brand new heavy-duty motors in it. So all that stuff adds up to a little more weight and draws a little bit more current. So I'll get into the specs in a minute. But the remote control looks exactly the same. I had some suspicions they might actually build in an LCD display, much like the Autel Evo did. They didn't do that. So it looks almost exactly the same as the Mavic Pro remote, except that it's a little bit of a gray color. So it's not pure black, it's mostly gray. The battery is larger in the unit. Now, it's interesting that it's bigger in a lot of ways. It's gone from an 11.4 volt, which was one on the Mavic Pro, to a 15.4, so it's got a lot more voltage. It's the same, basically the same milliampere hours. It went from a 3830 to a 3850. So you're thinking, is it really that much difference? That's a huge difference, because when you figure out the watt hours of the battery, which is really the energy density of what you're getting in that battery pack, it jumped from a 43.6 on this guy to a 59.3. And what that means is there's more power inside that unit to fly faster, fly further, and fly longer, even if it's a little heavier quad. So great job on that. And again, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to use the same chargers we used on the Mavic Pro, but I will tell you, a lot of the accessories that fit the Mavic Pro look like they're going to fit that Mavic 2. And I haven't tried any of this yet because I wasn't lucky enough to get one of these as a preview test. I know a lot of channels have them already, but I ordered 2 on the floor. I ordered a Mavic 2 Zoom and a Mavic 2 Pro, as well as the Fly More combination. They should be here beginning of next week, like Tuesday, which is another thing I want to point out. If you were back in the days when we bought the Mavic Pros, they didn't have stock on them. They announced the product, you ordered it, and then you'd wait weeks for the thing to show up, and eventually you'd get a notice that it was shipped, and that frustrated a lot of people. One of the reasons they delayed this launch, and I respect them tremendously for this, is they didn't have enough stock ready. When they figured out how many people were interested and how excited people were about the product, they wanted to make sure they had plenty of stock for these products to be built. So the day it was announced on the show floor, you could order it, and it immediately shipped. So I placed my order. I was watching the presentation, but I'm sort of looking down at my phone, placing the order, and I got a notice of confirmation that afternoon that it had already been packed up and shipped, and it's on its way to me now. So from the time I placed it on, I guess, Thursday, it's going to be here on Tuesday. So it's really like 3 business days of delivery, which is a tremendous thing, because when you buy technology like this, especially if you're crazy like me and anxious to get it in your hands, you don't want to wait 2 weeks for it. You want to order it and get it and be done with it. All right, so anyway, they're on the way. So what did they change on the product that really interests me? For starters, they've got more powerful motors, like I'd mentioned. They're brand new motors. They're first time they've used them on this Mavic 2, so it's a different technology, a little smoother. They're using sinusoidal ESCs, which make it quieter and make it much more efficient, so they get a little extra flight time out of the batteries. They've gone to the quieter props as well, so the high efficiency, low use props, I should say, make it a much more efficient quad to make it a lot quieter. We flew it out back at the facility, and I'll be honest with you, man, it is way quieter than I remember the Mavic being up in the air. I wish I had a Mavic with me to compare them side by side, and that's certainly something I'll test when it shows up, but listening to it fly, it wasn't silent, but it was way quieter. So I think those motors really have a big impact on it. They've also increased, or I should say they've added, additional internal memory. So they've got 8 gigabytes of onboard memory that you can expand further through a micro SD card, but it is kind of nice to have internal memory in there, because there have been times that I've taken a memory card out to transfer stuff to my computer, got up the next morning, go out to fly, get on site and realize I didn't bring a memory card with me. So having 8 gigs inside the unit means that I'll never have that problem again, and certainly you can expand it to your heart's content beyond that. Another thing they did, which I think is going to make a big difference for us flyers, is it's gone to an OcuSync 2. 2. Now OcuSync 2 has the ability to switch between the 2.4 and the 5.8 gigahertz frequencies on the fly. So it now has 2 bands of frequencies to deal with. It also does transmission on one band and reception on the other band, so it's not duplexing now on the same band, which means they've got a lot more bandwidth, which enables you to get a 1080p feedback from the quad to your viewing device on your phone or your tablet. And that's important because it gives you a much crisper image of what you're seeing and much more detail in there as well. It also allows you to save the pictures that you're taking on the quad 1.5 miles away from you right to the device you're using. So automatically any picture you'll take will be downloaded immediately to your phone, so you've got it there. You don't have to deal with the headache of transferring it over if you want to post it up on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. It's right on your phone, so that's pretty cool. Another thing they did was separate the packaging. So in the old days, if you bought the Mavic Pro, you had to decide, do I want the Mavic Pro or Mavic Pro Fly more? And the same thing with other quads. Now what they're doing is selling the Mavic 2 Zoom and the Mavic 2 Pro separately, and then you can add that Fly More combination. And I would recommend heartily that if you're looking at the quad, buy the Fly More combination, because if you add up all the stuff that comes in that package, I think it's 2 batteries, it's a carrying case, it's a charging hub, maybe a couple extra sets of propellers. And again, I don't have them yet, I'll have it on Tuesday. But if you add all that stuff up, it comes to way more money than a Fly More combination costs you. So, and you know you're gonna end up buying batteries and extra blades and all the rest of that stuff. So my recommendation is jump on that Fly More combination, whichever model you decide to go with. Another cool thing they added, which I was surprised by, is they added a landing light. So on the bottom of the unit, there's actually 2 bright LEDs that when you're coming down to land, they turn on to illuminate the area below it. Now that does a couple things for you. Number one, it gives you kind of visual indication of where it's going to land, so you know if it's going to hit the mat or not, so it'll help you zero in on your landing mat. But more importantly, it gives the unit a much better view of what's below it, because remember, when it takes off, it takes a picture. When it comes back to land, it wants to see that exact same picture. So having those lights on there illuminated in the space behind it or below it, I think it's kind of a cool thing, and it was smart of them to do that, and that was kind of a clever feature they built in. Some of the other stuff that really separates this in the pack, the first thing I'll talk about is the hyperlapse. Now, hyperlapse is a difficult thing to do. If you played with DSLRs before and you try to do any kind of motion with a hyperlapse, you've got to have a slider, you've got to have a really well-oiled gimbal assembly to move it around on a tripod, and it takes a lot of work and a really expensive camera to do that. The fact that they built hyperlapse into the quad and it enables you to go out there and do those hyperlapse photos, just really changes the game. It just makes it a much more professional quad, and I can't wait to play with that feature. That seems like something I'm going to spend a lot of time with. And you've actually got 4 modes in hyperlapse, and I'll spend time going through these individually, but all 4 of those modes allow you to do circles or track directly towards an object, or come in at an angle. So it gives you a lot of control over how you're doing those hyperlapse. They also added 1 more mode to the quick shot. So the quick shots used to have 5 modes. They added a 6th mode to the quick shots, which is the new one called the dolly zoom. If you buy that Mavic Zoom, you've got the ability to do this dolly zoom on something you're focusing on, and that function is amazingly cool. So if you watched a movie where you've seen like Alfred Hitchcock and Psycho, where it seems like the foreground's coming at you and the background's fading away, it's a very strange look. It's like a parallax look there where it pulls back like that. Seems like a really cool feature. And a lot of guys said, well, seems to get a bit gimmicky to me and I don't know if I'll use it that much. I'm telling you, I'm going to use it all the time, because in years gone by, when there weren't a lot of drones out there, you could take a picture of anything, put it up online, and people will go crazy because it was unique. Since the last couple of years with all the drones being sold, aerial pictures are not that amazing anymore. Most people look at them and go, yeah, you took it from a drone. Dolly zoom is going to change it for you. So if you're a cinematographer, you're doing any kind of creative photography outside with videos and movies and things, you're going to be using the quick shots dolly zoom a lot. So that's something I'm going to play a lot with when I get it, and I'll do clips on it and show you how it works and everything else. The last thing I wanted to talk about was conclusions, because I did talk to a ton of people at the show. And when you're at that show, you can be honest, because you're sort of huddling up with somebody and talking about the technology. What do you think? Is it good? Is it cool? Are you going to buy it? I got to tell you, without exception, everybody at that show said, this is a killer product, absolute killer product. And most of them said, I own X quad now. I'm selling that quad and I'm buying this quad because of this feature or that feature or whatever. And I have to tell you, like when I look at what DJI is doing, they're not going for sort of gimmicky stuff. They're not looking at it going, how can we change it a little bit and make it a little cooler? Maybe we'll get people to buy it. They're really sitting down and thinking, and they're talking to people in the industry, asking them what they want, and they're very responsive. So when somebody says to them, we want you to build this thing like a DSLR that flies and build all the features I can get into a DSLR, They didn't quite make it that good, but they made it pretty close. And I like the fact that they give you a choice between the Mavic 2 Zoom and the Mavic 2 Pro, because there are different needs in the field. And I understand as well that you're able to change that camera. So if you buy the Pro and you decide you want to go with the Zoom later on, you unfortunately have to send it back to DJI, but they're going to turn it around pretty quickly and they send it back to you with the other style camera. So it isn't quite a swappable camera yet, but I think it's cool enough that if you want to change it, you can do that. But in general, I love this Mavic Pro. I've said this more than once on the channel that this is hands down my favorite quad to fly. The only thing this lacks, the only reason I'm flying a Phantom product at all, the Phantom 4, is because I want a larger sensor, which captures a much better image for me. The fact that I can buy that Mavic 2 Pro with a 1-inch sensor on it, especially with the Hasselblad camera in it, that's a home run. That's going to be the quad I'm going to fly every day. Now, having said that, I don't think they're resting on their laurels. I tried in the interviews to sort of sneak out or tease out some details about the Phantom 5 coming out, what's going on with the Phantom 5, and they were stone-faced. They wouldn't give me any details on it, but I guarantee you there's a Phantom 5 in the labs right now that's probably being tested by some YouTubers that we'll probably see end of year, and my suspicions are, and I've got some predictions coming on this, so stay tuned to the channel, they're going to release that Phantom 5 with a removable gimbal, and then you'll have the ability to swap out the camera as necessary, or at least swappable lenses. But until that hits, and again, that's all speculation, that Mavic 2 Pro is the quad I'm going to be flying. Now, I'll still have the Mavic around because my son flies, family members fly, but that Mavic 2 Pro is definitely the one I'm going to be using a lot. Now, the question I get from a lot of you guys is, are they worth the upgrade? Should I sell my Mavic Pro to move to this Mavic 2? That's a personal decision. I'll be honest with you, most of what the Mavic Pro does is included in the Mavic 2, but there are enough benefits in there that I think it may be worth the upgrade for you. The other choice would be if you don't have a quad today and you're looking to get in the market, both of these quads are going to be leaders of the pack for at least the next couple of years. So it's not like if you buy it, tomorrow Autel is going to come out with something cooler, or Unique is going to come out with something cooler. These are tough things to build. They're like moon launches. They don't just come out of the basement in a couple of weeks where a few engineers get together and build it. It takes a long time to design this kind of stuff. So what you're looking at here with the Mavic 2 is really the standard for the industry, I believe, for at least the next 12 to 18 months, maybe even longer. So if you're in the market for a quad and you want to get a portable quad, the Mavic 2 is the way to go. And I'm convinced that it's going to be the best quad out there for quite some time. And don't hate on me. I know a lot of people love the Evo, they love the Onafi, and I like those quads too, and they're different price points. So I always say when everybody asks me, what should I buy? Buy what you can afford, but don't wait. Buy something today and start flying. If you like it and you want to upgrade to something later on, you can definitely sell it. Another interesting thing that DJI did at the event is they've got a trade-up program. So much like a lot of the vendors out there, you can take older electronics, go on their website, and dial up exactly what the model of the electronics you've got that you want to trade in is, and it'll give you a price. And then you send it to them, and they give you credits against a new purchase. So if you bought a DJI quad or even somebody else's quad prior, you could trade that in towards this new quad. So if you've got a Pro and you want to get rid of it, maybe look into that program and see what it's worth in a trade. But anyway, I love these quads, and again, I don't have them. As soon as I get them, expect me to put a flood of clips out, testing them, showing you how they compare to other quads, what I like about the features, and going through demonstrations of how to use the quad out there in the wild, because I love flying and you're going to get a lot of experience with that. So that's pretty much all I had today. I've got a link below if you want to go to DJI's website and buy one of these two quads. You'd be helping the channel if you use that link, but it's totally up to you guys. Please, if I've missed anything or you have further questions, drop them in the comments below. I promise to get back to you as quickly as I can. I've got so many more clips that I'm working on. I'm barely sleeping anymore because I've got so much content to put out, but I'll get back to you as quick as I can. I really appreciate the support you guys have given the channel. I love the increase in the subscribers. That really helps us a lot. If we keep getting those subscribers higher and higher, maybe we'll get a test unit from DJI when that Phantom 5 comes out. But if you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Join the Drone Valley family, because we got a lot of good stuff coming. So that's pretty much it for today. Thanks an awful lot for watching, and until next time, happy flying.